Day 2.
Time for day 2. You know the drill by now. Yeah, breakfast, get ready, head over there, and I'll see you when there's something interesting. Well, it's day 2 of this crazy convention, and yeah, I'm all dressed up. I'm gonna have some lunch, then I'm gonna head over to the convention, and I'm gonna share this disclaimer. If I go to a panel and I feel like recording it, I'm only gonna do like the first 10 minutes and then the last 10 minutes because I found out something while recording the Jimmy Neutron panel last night. This camera that I'm using can only go up to 20 minutes at a time per video, so yeah, no more full panels on this thing, so yeah, I apologize if there's going to be some weird cuts during the Jimmy Neutron panel, because, yeah, I didn't know that. So, yeah, well, besides that disclaimer, I'm going to do all the things I said, and I'll see you guys at the convention.
Done kind of all of our good material, so this is sort of the insides of what we've got planned.
Yeah, thank you everybody so much for coming. We're delighted to have such a full room here. And, we're excited to talk about this subject of misremembering video games.
So just a quick introduction to us and kind of what our relationship is to Magfest. I'm Dr. Kevin Flanagan. I've been, along with this guy over here, doing panels at Magfest for 20 years. Our first Magfest was Magfest 2. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and it's been a wild ride, and you know, thinking back to coming to Magfest for the first time and like being in a room with like, you know, maybe 200 people at most, and now we've got more people here probably than the first Magfest we went to just at this panel.
Our first panel, we sat in a circle. Like that's how many panels I've been to.
Yeah, and it kept getting pushed to the point where we weren't sure if it would happen, and so to have something actually happen and to have people show up means a lot. Really excited to talk about this stuff. We're also part of a group called Content Productions that's doing some fun shows throughout the weekend. So if you look at your guidebook later, go to the various content production items that are on offer throughout the rest of the weekend.
This guy over here, I'm Dr. Bobby Schweizer.
Oh yeah, as you can probably surmise from the other name on the
Process of elimination.
Yeah, so I want to give just a sense of what this topic is and kind of why we thought it might be interesting to talk about it. So coming to Magfest for so long, an act that we engage in collectively together is the act of public memory and memorialization of video games. A lot of us are here to talk about and remember and dredge up the forgotten and have recollections of things that we have experienced before. So a lot of what video game conventions such as Magfest are is this collective attempt at recovering something. But I'm kind of a contrarian, and I started to think, like, well, what's the flip side or the opposite aspect of this? What is the thing that happens that a lot of us experience as we age and, you know, as time goes on, where we suddenly don't remember games or we have trouble remembering games, and why is it that we misremember games and all this? So we'll start speaking on this topic now.
Yeah, so when we were talking about what we wanted to do this year, Kevin pitched this idea to me, and it was nice for him to bring something that, as him the contrarian, me have to kind of deal with, this idea of like, what is the flip side of misremembering.
Deal with this obnoxious idea I have and try to make sense of it in a way that I'm unwilling to. And he said, yeah, that's actually kind of interesting.
Sure. So yeah, that if we would think of misremembering as being this bad thing, then what would it mean for this to be a good thing, right? How do our inaccurate memories actually like play into our experiences and our lives with video games and represent the way that we experience video games like more representatively. So Kevin's questions were like, all right, well, what would it mean if we're approaching this idea of misremembering from like a variety of angles? So we think about like, well, what are the sources of it? What would it mean for this to be a bad thing? And then what would it mean for this to be a good thing? So we've worked through this idea and we've incorporated some of the work that we do as scholars into it, particularly Kevin bringing in a lot of film scholarship that we'll talk about as we try to make sense of this for video games.
So just to give you a sense of the format of the panel real quick, our goal for like the next couple minutes is to run through a lot of frameworks or contexts or approaches to misremembering. And then eventually what this panel is going to be is we want people to share their stories, their specific incidences, things that you've encountered in misremembering. And I will say one more thing by way of framing. The panel I did last year at Magfest was in the tabletop, and it was another panel. It was about productive failure. So I realized I'm on this kick of how can we get good things out of things that we think are normally bad. And so I kind of, I'm still stuck on some of those ideas from last year, that the thing that makes us feel potentially frustrated can be ultimately productive. And then my final point of framing is I think that this reflection is something that now that I'm a middle-aged person, I constantly am thinking about these things in ways that my 20-year-old self wasn't. So, it's a sort of ongoing thing that's been going on for a bit. So, go to the next one if you could. All right, so I want to talk through several ways in which we might misremember. These are just frameworks. Again, we all have individual idiosyncratic memories. We all remember or misremember things differently and for different reasons. Oh yeah, and if you're by the door and you want to sit, there's plenty of seats up front here if you want to commit to it.
And if you don't want to commit, then good.
Fair enough.
Be a fence sitter.
So the first kind of framework here is a game maybe potentially just being forgettable. We probably all play games that do not register to us because they are, for some reason, for our sensibilities or our taste, unimpressive or unexceptional. They are things that just do not require the cognitive space in our long-term memory. They're games that we don't remember because we don't think we'll ever have to revisit them. I hope people have examples of this, of games that you at some point played, but you, when someone asked you, could not recollect a single thing about it because the experience was in some way forgettable. But the next one, again, this is one where I would be really hesitant to ascribe any universal experience to. The passage of time. As we age, we remember and forget things differently. As many people in here might know, if you have elderly relatives, suddenly old, long-lost memories become incredibly acute, as though they happened yesterday, but other types of memories go out. As one ages over time, memories which were fixed take on a kind of transmuted quality, and all these things we experience. And so I'm hoping that people have some fun anecdotes about games played long ago that, when recovered later, are in some ways unrecognizable, maybe for the good, maybe for the bad. This term is a bit more specific, and I was thinking about a term that could qualify or quantify the aggregate process of memory, so I figured aggregation is a fair enough word for that. When we combine memories, when memories of games that we've played mush together for various reasons, whether by dint of similarity or some other quirk, when we remember games in the composite and as groups rather than as individually played experiences that unfold over time, when we mix things together. And a lot of my examples as we were putting this panel together were my uncanny ability, and I'm sure Bobby's as well, to just mix memories together in one's head to the point of being unable to recall exactly what it was that we played in whatever circumstances. So I hope people will have some stories there. I wanted to bring up a kind of phenomenon that I read up a little bit on, and I'm not an expert by any means on cognitive psychology. It's just a field that kind of plays into some stuff I'm interested in. The notion of boundary extension illusion, the phenomenon by which people remember more in an image or scene than is actually there because you reason through or narrativize what you see and you add to what you see.
So give us an example.
So in a film, let's say where you're editing together images, it would be adding a scene mentally that happens to a character that's only mentioned off screen or unstated by the logic of the narrative, but you invent a memory of the scene having happened. Or, for instance, a photo of a group of people where there was a friend who used to hang out with that group who's not in the photo, but you remember the photo as having that friend on the side. So we kind of edit the memory to suit our narrative of our life or whatever, but it is a fabrication. And that's weird because the memory is real to us, but it's a fabrication to the actual incident. So that we'll come back to that, but I hope people have experienced that. Oh, I don't hope. I hope you all have as experiences I have. That way this panel will go well. But it's a phenomenon that's worth knowing about. And then I want to talk through a couple other aspects of misremembering. These come from a couple scholars that I brushed up on just kind of in planning this panel. Daniel Schachter is a really good kind of sort of psychologist who wrote some pop psychology books. And we have a works cited slide at the end that if you want to take a photo, a lot of the stuff we're mentioning will be available there. But he talks a lot about misattribution, knowing something but not knowing where it's from. I encounter this a lot in video games, and or my memory of video games, where I know I've seen something play out in a game, but I don't know what the game is, and I don't know in what part of the game it is, but I kind of have some insistence in my head that it exists there. And I hope people have experienced that as well. But then one that I'm really fascinated by is this notion of suggestibility, whereby an external force will suggest something as having happened to you, and you'll kind of accept it, either because you trust the source or because you're in a position of not knowing something, and therefore, oh, it's plausible that this, it's plausible that in this game this exists, but I don't know.
Yeah, and you'll see as we continue on some of the ways like misattribution can happen throughout external and internal forces in games.
Especially, we'll oftentimes talk about early internet days where information was scarce and harder to verify, and how misattribution can lead to problems where one might only encounter information in one very famous specific place, but that information is wrong, and so suddenly our 30-year memory of something is like a wrong version. Just two more quick things. Confabulation is a fascinating phenomena whereby we generate a false memory, not with the intention of harming or tricking somebody, but simply by dint of generating some infill to something. Confabulation, in addition to sounding like a Wonka chocolate bar or something, it has this quality of, the invention serves a purpose to us, so there might be some reason why we do it, potentially to cover up a trauma, potentially to explain something that we can't explain through the typical channels by which we would explain something. And so reading about, outside of video games, confabulation happening as a means of giving someone grounding when there is no grounding. And so I wonder if people have had similar experiences in the video game realm. And then finally, just my favorite way of living is hallucinating. Literally hallucinating a game, thinking a game, and I know we talk about hallucination a lot now with AI, but hallucination is fascinating because while it is fabrication and potentially on some level false, it's also where the cool shit happens, right? It's where the interesting stuff happens. There's a reason why sometimes you want to get back to a dream. It's because it's where the kind of mellow world goes away and suddenly you see stuff. And, so I think maybe there's space here for the productive quality of hallucination and stuff. And then we'll talk later about collective phenomenon, but sometimes this happens not just for individuals.
So you brought me this interesting example of a book from 2004 that you liked by Victor Bergen.
Yes.
On fragments.
So this is great. This critical theorist, Victor Bergen, an artist. This book I read in undergrad, and I sort of it's always stuck with me for some reason. So I wanted to say a few words about it before I shut up for a minute and pass the torch over to Bobby. It's a cool book. The argument of the book is basically we never remember films as a unified whole. Even if we've seen a movie a lot, what we actually remember, he argues, is that we retain fragments of a movie and sequences or associations, and that what we do mentally oftentimes when we watch something is we reconstitute the whole via the fragments, and every time you do that, there's elements of that you could get wrong or forget. And even with a film, again, even with something that you've played a million times, seen a million times, there's that possibility of it going wrong. He talks about film spectating, the act of watching a movie, as being something that you do as a kind of half-digested reverie. When we watch these, magical images on screen, when we watch a movie or TV show, it's not necessarily rational processing of information. It's kind of like the magic of images summoned from far away. He uses a kind of lot of magical and occult language, which I appreciate because it helps cover over the unknowns of this. And then finally, he has this quotation. I'm just sharing it here for anyone interested. Mental images derived from films are as likely to occur in the form of the involuntary associations and are often provoked by external events. I think something similar goes on with video games, if I may speak for other people here. Other forces work on us as we play a game. Our memory of the game becomes the combination of the game and the external forces, and sometimes those external forces can be really emotionally powerful or cause us to have all sorts of other problems or whatever. And we'll have examples later, but yeah, that idea stuck with me.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one too, because I think there are a lot of people who consume all kinds of things at the same time, right? So if you're playing a game and listening to a podcast, then now the podcast and the game are inextricably linked. And perhaps having the juxtaposition of those two things gives meaning to each one of them. Like you happen to have the right thing you were listening to at the right time, or the right music at the right time while playing a game, or you're watching Parks and Rec for the
Yeah.
15th time.
I had multiple conversations yesterday asking people, what's the game you play while you watch TV these days? And everyone's got like I'm playing Mario Wonder while I watch Top Chef. You know, that was one of the conversations. I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of, the game is not just the game. The game is the Top Chef din in the background. The game is the smell of popcorn that you made. It's kind of the sense memory of all of it, right? Okay, so handing the torch over to Bobby here with a couple other frameworks and examples.
Yeah, so a lot of what we've said so far, and some of it is inventing things whole cloth, and a lot of it is just as time passes, right, we're forgetting how things work, but are there other factors, these forces that are either internal to the games or external to games that are causing us to have these memories, right? It's not just that we're forgetting something and it's like half-formed, but rather there's new information being introduced that makes it difficult for us to keep track of what we're looking at. So, for example, if you're thinking about internal forces in games, one of the things that we face is that games are long, right? We have played games that take a long time, and also sometimes we take a long time to play games. So I played Final Fantasy VII Remake over the course of a year and a half, like once a month with a friend. And so remembering what happened the previous month was like a very difficult thing for me. So my whole picture of that game, while incredibly positive, is very different than someone who played through it in a weekend. There's also the problem that games can often be similar to one another, and that's where we get these points where we have difficulty discerning what a thing in our memory was and which game that came from. And that's part of the nature of like being fans of these things and spending so much time and dedication to them, is that it's not like we have the one game that just sticks with us because that's the one game we ever played. Right? We're constantly trying new things, and as a result of that, it gets more difficult to discern what those sources are. Additionally, I'm one bullet point behind. Additionally, right, there's this idea that games have variability in them. So if a game has different story outcomes, or if you might play it or approach it differently depending on what your play style is, then if your memory of the game is only that one route through the game, and you didn't go and you poke at every single possible tree in the interactive narrative, or if you only play 4X games one particular way, and then you went and played it a different way, right? You went for another X, then your memory of that would be very different than if it was just whatever you're used to doing.
Just real quickly, some of my favorite conversations at Magfest every year are the how did you play and remember this game that I know I played so differently from you that we're almost speaking a different language and talking about it. And it's always fascinating to do that. And it's not necessarily, in this case, strictly speaking, that either party is misremembering, but either party's experience and frame of reference is so different that it is like an entirely new object or something. Right?
And there's a sociability of it, which is like if you're playing a game that is multiplayer, then that is a new factor that comes in. Whether it is something that's cooperative or competitive, right? You are playing Fortnite with your friends as a way of socializing, or if you played the game Journey when it first came out, you had that experience of like teaming up with random people across the internet, and like sort of remembering somebody who may have popped into your game and like what that contributed to it would be very different anytime you played it. Yeah. There's also the idea that like sometimes video games just happen quickly, right? Stuff's flying, stories moving.
Life happens fast.
Yeah, I'm dumping points into things, and I'm not paying attention to the individual moments. I'm not reflecting on those. So by virtue of the attention that the game is asking of me, it's harder for me to remember any particular thing about it. So maybe it becomes a little more abstract. And then these are the things that would influence what our memories are. So part of this, how we thought about was like knowledge of a game only through secondary sources. So you don't have firsthand knowledge, but maybe you watched a Let's Play. Or maybe your entire knowledge of a game is reading the strategy guide for it. And you've never touched the thing itself.
And my favorite example is staring at the back of game boxes. What is this game? And remembering the screenshots and the terrible copywriting on the back and never playing them.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
And we consume a lot of media about playing games. So if you have a YouTube channel you like, you have streamers or podcasts that you listen to, those people's opinions of the game suddenly like become part of what your opinions and memories are. So something that you may not have remembered is the thing that they may be reinforcing for you. So it's this external factor there. So, these things cause us to like mutate our personal experiences into this like shared collective experience or whatever that fixed experience may be. And it is no longer your version of the game that you're remembering. So through these things, there's also issues of like lacking complete information. So when we're thinking about any game that we played, like maybe we only played a bit of it, and so we don't have everything about, or we don't know everything about it, or maybe that we've heard somebody talk about specific parts of it, so that's the thing that fixes with us as well. So, I mean, there's a bigger question, right? Like, what does it mean to remember a game that we've never played before?
Yeah.
What does it mean to have your primary way of consuming the game watching somebody else play it? And is that the same thing as having played yourself? Is it, or what are the overlaps, or is it entirely different?
And we should say too, when we start to share our stories in just a minute, and even give some of our examples, it's almost always not an absolute sense of forgotten, misremembering versus remembering. It's degrees of memory and misremembering. So there's this sort of interesting sense of, you could say, I very nearly feel like I can remember playing this game, and you can also qualify that by saying, like, I almost think I misremember. Like, there's almost a sliding scale, right? And again, that's part of what's so fun about collecting different people's experiences, is that everybody's like tipping point for that's a bit different based on what you like and what you played.
Yeah. And this was brought up earlier when we were just chatting before the panel began, but there are places where, we have fleeting memories of games because those games were kind of ephemeral. So if you played a lot of Flash games, like maybe there was a game you kind of remember playing, you don't remember anything about it, you can sort of describe what it might be, like you go to a Reddit, like tip of the tongue forum, like can anyone find this game that I'm trying to think of for me? I think it is this. But unlike the thing you may have gone out and bought and spent a ton of time with, if you played a Flash game for a week, 15, 20 years ago, it's much harder for you to remember those things. I have the same thing with early iPhone games. Like, either was something I really loved, don't know what it was called, don't remember what you did, but I remember having a good time looking at my phone.
Yeah. Some of my favorite preservation stories I've read about just on social media this year have been like someone tracking down a shovelware disc of like 150 rip-off games, finding the one game that they played a ton of on Windows 95, and they were like, no one has bothered to say anything about it, and this was like total crap on the marketplace, but weirdly you can recover sometimes these memories.
Yeah.
Some of these memories are unrecoverable, but it makes me kind of smile.
I'll do this with my students. They'll try to like remember a game, and I see it as a challenge. I'm like, I want to go home and find out this game that you played one time, and see if I can use my
using your detective capabilities.
I'll go to the Giant Bomb Wiki and look for one page that has that object in it that they kind of remember, and look at every single game.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about collective?
Yeah, so I think one thing that's worth talking about, I mean, this pops up in a lot of kind of other contexts and oftentimes is used sort of for humorous effect, but the notion of a collective misremembrance on something, a Mandela effect, a Bernstein Bears, or whatever other version of this that you have, I think there's probably some good applications to games that I personally don't know about, of just a collective group of people all misremembering a game for the same reason, all thinking, Shazam on Sega Genesis exists, whatever it may be, right? I love that sense because it implies a kind of weird community of a sensibility that's shared, even if it's a quote-unquote wrong one. And so to me, that's actually still positive and kind of interesting and cool. But then we also want to talk about this one thing that we had trouble with when we were going over this morning, just before the panel, but I think is a real phenomenon. We came up with a few examples, was the problem of memory that occurs when the initial reporting or inaccuracy about a game that exists is the only source that everyone latches onto, and then that takes on a life of its own. So I just gave an example of, this is from a film studies example from this year, a film that was a lost film, which is to say a film not in circulation anymore and only really existing in one print, where the only information about it people had was that they thought it was released in 1971 because newspaper ads for the movie were findable from 1971, but that when the print of the movie was restored and recovered, the copyright date was 1969. So there's the sense of there is inaccurate information because only incomplete information circulates and no one had watched it. And then there may be a story there about how the movie was shot in 1969 but shelved and not distributed. And there's similar stories with games.
Yeah, well, I was saying also like Oregon Trail would be an example of a game that had like tons of variability. It's releasing in different platforms or different times, and folks have like whatever their version of Oregon Trail is informed by what their kind of memory of it is, and then seeing a different version of it, they're like, well, that's not quite what I remember, and then like trying to make sense of the contrast between those two things.
Yeah, and my version of that game being the Fox Mill Elementary School computer lab using a Macintosh and 3.5-inch floppy disk, whereas someone else's example of that game, none of those words would play in it, right?
So Kevin, do you want to tell us about some of the ways that you misremember?
Yeah, so just real quickly, we're going to give our own sort of anecdotes of misremembrance, and then the rest of the panel pretty much will be your anecdotes of misremembrance. I call these Kevin's Crazies. That's right, Kevin's Crazies, the moment you've all been waiting for. So I have just 4 examples to use these terms, and later on when you guys have your stories you want to share, we can kind of go back to these terms, or we can add to them or redefine them. One of my things that I've been thinking about recently is aggregation. I started playing Dragon Quest II for the first time again in a while, and I realized that I have a real problem conflating individual entries into RPG franchises with graphic similarity, like the first 4 Dragon Warrior / Quest games. I combine and totally misattribute the different games, characters, locales, narratives. I thought I was playing what I remembered to be the story and map of Dragon Warrior 3, but then I remembered that actually what I thought Dragon Warrior 3 was is what Dragon Warrior 4 actually is. And then I realized the only Dragon Quest games I actually accurately remember from a narrative point of view were 1 and 7, and 7 only because the graphical style changed. And then I started spiraling, thinking about the choices I made in my life. But so I imagine a lot of you have this thing where the games blend in whatever unique ways. Well, I'd love to hear about that. Trauma, we say this about trauma, a lot of people might have, so I'm starting with a relatively benign example. I'll say a lot of people might have traumatic associations with games, and I would say that this isn't necessarily the forum to share too graphically those things. There could be triggering things for people in the audience who have had similar examples. But I did want to bring up one example of a collective trauma with a statement that I would swear to in court. I have no memory of the video games I played in April and May of 2020. A lot was going on in the world. A lot was going on in my personal life. I played video games every day. I don't know. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in any of them.
You know what the thing is? You did not play Animal Crossing. Everyone else is like, yeah, there's like one game I played.
I could have had a collective shared memory of Call of Duty. Yeah, no, I did not play Animal Crossing. I played question mark. I don't know what. That's Terra Incognita. That's the part of the map that hasn't been filled in, and I'll probably never get back. Mechanics, like. Going back to a lot of these games I used to play when I was younger. Secret of Mana, upon replaying it, I had a misremembrance of the functionality of the mechanics. I didn't realize how bad the hit detection was. I actually did the thing that like an entitled customer does at a restaurant. I was like, I can't believe that this game has such poor hit detection, and I'm like, what did I expect? This game is from 1993, has other virtues, and I still like playing it, but it was a mechanical misremembrance, so it wasn't a holistic thing, it was just like the process by which I played it. And then finally, my last example is I guess, a fragmentary example. And this maybe says something about how I just don't remember stories a lot in video games. I can't tell you what the narrative of Bioshock is, but I have vivid memories of like the textures of like the walls and like the color schemes. And I remember like odd things like that, atmospherics. I should say that I tend to remember production design and visuals and costumes in movies, but not character names, so it's probably something similar there. Like I watched all of Game of Thrones and I don't know the names of the characters. I can't tell you most of their names. So that's just maybe my particular broken brain in action. But so those are 4 examples.
Okay, let me help you with Bioshock. So one, he doesn't run. So there's always a man, there's always a city.
So far this sounds like a cult to which I have not yet been invited. So we're going to transition to actually what you've really been looking for, which is Bobby's Blunders. That's right, Bobby's Blunders.
We call the segment Bobby's Blunders. Yeah. So as I was playing Black Mesa, the remake of the original Half-Life that was primarily done by fans, it's like a long-running fan project. Me playing through Black Mesa was me remembering Half-Life exactly. And then I went and watched a documentary about it and realized how much of Black Mesa was invented to make the original Half-Life a more modern game. Like things in there that for me, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I remember this segment here. I remember going across the dam here and having to run out, like, no, that stuff, you didn't do that. Like, there's like this one little turret thing. They built out the game in a way that had me reflecting back as if that was the first time I was playing it in like the year 2000. Another one, which is kind of a disappointment, it's like the Secret of Mana problem, but I went back and, I played Borderlands 2, and I was like, I'm gonna go back and play some Borderlands 1. We spent a lot of time with that game, and then like realizing like when you go down, you can't crawl, and you're like, oh, my memory of it is just like the first content of Borderlands 2 in the mechanical sense. But actually, the game itself is
that
very
overrode the experience.
Yeah, and still love it. But, yeah. So I also think about like the way that me inventing things about how my experience of a game worked. So thinking about the no Russian sequence from playing Modern Warfare 2 the first time. So you are in the military. You are storming this airport, and you can kill the civilians as you're making your way through it. And I remember like hearing about this before playing the game, like people talking about what that segment was like. And in my memory of playing the game was I went in and I purposefully did not shoot anybody. I let all like the NPC, like all the other characters do all the killing. And I like go, oh yeah, I'm shooting everybody, look at me, right? Like pretending like I'm doing it. I don't know if that's possible. My memory of me playing that segment of the game is that, yes, that's possible.
You gave yourself the ethical way to do it.
Yeah. I will go to my grave saying that that's how I played it. Like, again, I don't know if you can actually.
I've actually already paid them to etch that into your tombstone.
Some Russian.
Some Russian.
And then there's like this game that I played when I was a child, and I'm pretty sure it was by Hudson Soft. I have like a vaguest memory of playing it in my living room upstairs, and it was a side-scrolling game. It definitely was an Adventure Island, and then I was like, what might be a Milan Secret Castle? And then I go and look at screenshots of that in the gameplay. No, that's not exactly what I'm thinking about. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe like I'm just like smashing that together like Castlevania. I don't know what it is, but like this. Of all the games I played then, there's one memory of one level that I do not know exists, and will never be able to find it.
And that's your particular burden to bear.
I'll carry it all weekend.
You should probably kind of speak.
Yeah. So let's pop forwards. Right. So when you started this panel, you said, misremembering could actually be a good thing, right? That's your provocation. And so as we begin to chat with you all, I'm going to walk around with this, and we can hear some of your stories. We can also frame these things in like what the positive aspects of misremembering is. It's something we all do. And so if we're embracing that, what do we get out of embracing that? Because there are a number of virtues for this, right? So for starters here,
Yeah, so it's pleasurable to rediscover things. What's great, actually, in misremembering is the pleasure of, if not recovering the memory, making the new one. Revisiting a game and getting pleasure from it is great. I mean, one should not feel ashamed for forgetting a game and then coming back to it and getting maybe new or different or varied pleasures from it. So in that realm, a virtue of misremembering is that it yields the possibility of something good, full stop.
We lowered the bar a little bit here for the second point.
Yeah, and this is very much a middle-aged kind of thing recollected in worry. It can be heartening to only partially misremember something, aka I didn't misremember that as badly as I thought I had. I rewarded myself for actually kind of getting some of it correct in the order of my head, and that means that maybe there's hope for me yet, right? That's actually a kind of thing that you can take as a positive, and you can congratulate yourself over that to whatever degree you feel comfortable.
There's also this nice thing that happens where if we don't have perfect memories of a game, we don't have like expert knowledge, then I find it actually easier to talk to one another about games. The hardest thing for me is to talk to somebody who is like hardcore expert, knows everything about a game, who may well actually me into my grave, and I feel like I don't have the social currency to participate in that conversation there. So when we all have vague memories about something, then we get to do the collective action of remembering it together, which is a lot of fun. There's also this idea that misremembering leaves open areas for expansion. So there's a author, David B. Harvey, who's talking about the way that like having some openings in something like the Halo series allows for there to be transmedia adaptations of Halo in like other places. That we can't have a perfect canon because then the object is too fixed. We need some of that flexibility to tell interesting
This is
stories.
also where headcanon, fan fiction, all the great stuff that we do by building the franchise out for ourselves and our friends comes from. The spaces that like we do. Okay, here's my, this is like what I would tell my students, like misremembering is actually interesting. It's like actually more interesting than remembering something well because misremembering is kind of messy and kind of weird. And I was talking about how much I like hallucinations earlier. That misremembering is like where like the good stuff is. It's like where the like attempts at producing something come from. To only recollect something with crystalline accuracy is actually to me kind of like less fun because that's sort of like it's like sealed, it's done, it happens. And you know, we obviously in the world and in various fields of study and endeavor need to remember things accurately. But at the same time, I think we need to do this work mentally. It helps us creatively.
Apparently, because we can't help ourselves from being teachers. I think of this misremembering as a really productive thing for doing like game design work. So I teach game design classes, and by having these like vague memories of something, I can get students to like draw out what that might have been if they're trying to make that game about it. So you know, they get to sit down and then work through it in a new way.
So we have about 20 minutes now to share stories, bring up examples, whatever. I just really want to hear from everybody because like when we were planning this panel, we immediately kept thinking of stuff, but like everybody's got different experiences, different mismemories. So he's gonna.
Well, today was a lot more hectic than yesterday, which I'm actually okay with because there was more to see. And of course there was a lot more people, but I digress. So hope you all enjoyed a bit of that panel. We were at a few hours ago, and I'm just about to go and get an autograph from a cosplayer. Can't record that because they have rules. I can't do a video of that, and after that's done, I'm going back to my hotel room and getting ready for throwing controllers tomorrow because if I want to get a good seat, I gotta be here early. See you back at the hotel. I'm back in my hotel. I'm about to have dinner. Gonna play my Switch for a while, then go to bed and get ready for tomorrow because it's throwing controllers, and if I want to get a good seat, I'm gonna have to be there early. Doesn't start till noon, but believe me when I say that line gets long. Ugh. See you tomorrow.
Day 3.
Now it's time for day 3, and it's Throwing Controllers Day, that's gonna be something. You know my rule now. 10 minutes at the start, 10 minutes at the end. So yeah. And now I'm you know the morning routine by now. Gonna get breakfast, and I'm gonna come back, rest some more a little bit, and shower, get ready, then head over to the convention. So I'll see you guys when I get to the Throwing Controllers panel. Sorry if it's loud and you guys can barely hear me, but I'm right next to a jamming area. It's good music, but yeah, I'm in line for Throwing Controllers. Line is very long, very, very long. That right there is a cutoff. Technically the end of the line in this slide, but it's a cutoff. Luckily I was able to make it before all that, but it's going to be a long one and a big one. Panel's 2 hours long, so my rule is still going to apply. 10 minutes at the beginning, 10 minutes at the end. And move it back.
sure we start with the correct ones though. Green battle, anything goes! Quagsire versus Quagsire! Just Quagsire, you only get 1 point each. Whoever's the Quagsire dies loses. Pete, did you just steal a chair?
We're all right.
Goes for the slam and goes first. This is it. Here comes the dig.
Oh, that.
David's still behind a little bit right now.
Come on and slam. And welcome to the
Diggs
jam.
first. What does David do? Misses.
There is a speed tie, so whoever goes first is completely random.
Oh, that's going to be a nightmare.
And the dig swap. Let's see what Tom decides to do. There's only 10 digs per person, so it's only going to take 20 turns. For him, he takes a slight health lead. Tom goes for serve. Heavy damage.
I mean, surf is the stronger move.
David. Slam hits. Ooh, still alive. It might come down to whoever goes first here. Going first is going to be Tom. How in the world do you keep doing this?
I want you to know I had last year's ticket that I bought from somebody on $20 because I came late. I kept it.
Yeah, last year apparently he bought a card off someone for 20 bucks and it happened to be someone who actually like got it. Just in the back. Please don't win 2 years in a row. We only have 2-time champions, Slovene.
What's that?
I'm just putting Slovene. All right, you know how this works already.
Guess what number? 3.
3? 3 more. Who the heck is that? It's still have a descriptive character. Tell me who it is. From the distant future of the 31st century, this hunter saved people from rogue machines trying to turn humans with a bow and arrow. And with many other gadgets and tricks up his sleeve. Those are some great tricks, though, because their series has survived and released alongside at least 2 other major games and universe now.
Is that Alloy from Horizon?
That is Aloy, that is correct. questions. You need to get 3 of them correct to move on. They're all going to be themed around a category, and that category is Kickstarted. One of these games crowdfunded Kickstarted.
Win or lose, I'm stopping up for this one.
Get 3 correct to move on. Ready? No help from the audience. First one, Mighty Number 9, yes or no? No. It was. The Wonderful 101 Remastered, yes or no? No. It was. Any of the Diary, yes or no? That's a yes. You're saying yes, it was Kickstarted? Yes. No. Hades, yes or no? No, that's Hades 2. Hades had time, yes or no?
Everyone has thought is opposite, so yes.
Yes. Sorry, Pete, you're limited to your first leader. Go over,
See you guys toward the end.
6. All right. This is a good chance you might get some lucky here. Remember, group questions, your challenges are worth double. Friend or foe, audience challenge. Pick your poison, screenshot, and multiple choice question. First chapter 1. Choose your screenshot. Screenshot.
I'm pretty sure. Or maybe I tried.
I'm feeling that's the wish for your game. Please. What? Drill dozer. Drill dozer is correct. Ethan, you're running the board dry here. 1, 2, 5 is all you got left. 5. Who the heck is that? Famous for showing unmodified memes and never having their sprites updated. This Scottish supplements is shown for cartoons and comics alike. And maybe the most popular character from a series. So unless you prefer the cat or the zombie more.
Ew.
Morgan is correct. Ethan, I do believe this actually makes you the highest scoring player we've ever done for Total Control. Screenshots back. Would be Resident Evil 3. Want to try that again? 2. Supposed to be saying it's not Resident Evil. It is not Resident Evil. You can't see the text. It's very tiny because this game had very tiny font. But that says JC Denton.
JC, a bomb.
You said Resident Evil, but that's not okay. Yes. Ethan, you're very clear to the leader. Go ahead and practice. Good Lord, 8 points.
Come back and follow me, dude. What's your name?
I'm Ryan. All right, Ryan again, that is it's Ryan, right? Not Ryan, right? Okay. Ryan, that's a very, very tough act to follow. He's the one that picked you to come up here in the first place. Yeah. What? I'll go number 5. 5. All right. What game's the following song from?
What in the Batman Beyond?
I'm gonna guess you're having heard. Is it Killer Instinct?
Killer Instinct, you're on the right track. It is a fighting game song. A lot of people might know it from I Want to Be the Guy, but it's actually from a game called Guilty Gear Reset. Well, grab your prize. Alright, we still have a little bit of time left, so let's get at least one other person up and let's see if they can crush Ethan's ridiculous score.
Yeah, right.
17. Why does this keep happening?
one?
I know you definitely know who this is. You just may not realize it. You have a guess at all. Nothing? All right. I've just warned you. This is a bit of a cheating one, but he is in fact playing a video game. This is Charles Martinet.
Yep.
He's playing with a big running thing. Sorry, Tim, I'll go grab your prize. Tim, I still need one more. We still got.
They had this question last year too. Okay, he said that.
Two away from us. All right.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good.
What's your name?
I'm cool out.
Cool. Oh, yeah, cool. Let's go. All right.
Number 7.
7. Haha. Tom, John, or Tim? Who do you want to play against?
I'll go with Tom.
You go Tom? All right. Tom wrote in Pokemon Coliseum catch a shiny Quagsire?
What?
No! No! Stop that! No! No! Get off my stage! Get off my stage! No! Get off the stage right now! All right, so you're not playing against Tom. You're actually going to play 20 hours first game against Jules. Come on, play around the horse. I'm so glad that happened. I didn't think it was going to. All right, Jules, you go first. Just go second. Okay, so grab the controller. I'll get this up here. Have you played 20 hours first game before?
Only at 54 version.
It's the same thing, basically. D-pad move, ollie, like go faster, tricks, etc. Grind stuff. You're playing a game on course if you're doing that. You can come back on the stage now, sweetie. You did a great job.
Oh, there he is.
All right, who do you want to be? Tony? Jules, who do you want to be? Jack? Oh. He is? Really? Oh, yeah. You do realize he's a speed run for 20 hours per game? He's not Tom with that. All right, we want to warehouse? This is warehouse.
My name's Jeff.
Alright. And they play horse. So the player control has a set of trick combo, and then the next player has to beat it. If they fail to beat it, they gain a letter. Whoever spells horse first loses. However, we're not going to do horse. We're not even going to do mag because somebody came up with a much better suggestion.
Oh no.
Play it, Tom. Player 1, set your score.
You're 10.
Yeah, you know this is PlayStation. Yeah. Set a score. 420. Right, Jules, get me 420. Yeah. 1020. That's not as cool. All right, you got a match or beat 1020. And yeah. And Jules, 3,000 points. Ooh! Someone came to play. Gotta be 46-20 now. No
that's embarrassing.
What happened?
All right, Jules beat 100 points. I honestly thought this was going to be a blowout. I'm surprised we're just going back and forth like this. No. That's another What's he going for? Tail grab. That's a nice small tail grab. 315. All right, now you got to beat 315. Nice and easy. It's 236. Steps up a little bit. Jules, what do you got in your pocket? Card picks, draw one. Ooh, 2620. Plays it safely. No trick. And I'm sorry, well, you're on time. And folks, with that, I think we are definitely out of time. We're not going to try to slide anyone else in here. And that means we have our winner. Congratulations, Donald. All right, good luck. All right, Ethan. You won Super Mario Wonder. Do you want to switch or not? You do want to switch? Well, good news, you now own another one. Because you got to go back. Thank you all for coming out. We will see you all next year. If you want to hide, you'll be outside. Thank you all so much for coming.
I have a gift for you.
It's a bag. I've always wanted
If you need help with that, if you need an extra set of hands, just let me know.
Yeah, could you hold this so I can...
Okay.
Strings are right here.
How's that?
Thank you. John, would you like a carton of Joke?
God damn it. Have you seen this man's dick? He lost it years ago. So mad. So mad.
You're welcome.
You exclusive.
Glad you like it. You're welcome. Yes, please.
Still recording?
Fun fact, that was my first time ever spray painting something, so...
I'm glad it was used for such a good cause.
It was. Oh, God.
A trophy for years to come.
Yes.
I'll cherish it always.
You. Well, most of my day was throwing controllers. And as you could see, I'm tired, okay? Don't judge me. That panel was insane, and as you saw, I gave John a gift. That was the highlight of my weekend. Well, I'm just sitting here right now, letting my phone charge, then I'm gonna go to my hotel room, eat some dinner, then get ready for tomorrow, because that's the last day. So yeah, I'm gonna probably get all my stuff together, rush that, check out of my hotel, come back here, and then wait for my uncle to come pick me up, and I'll hang out at his place until my flight on Monday. God, I'm tired, as you can tell. If gonna let you guys know ahead of time if anything interesting happens tomorrow, I'll record it. If not, I'll sign off when I get to my uncle's place on tomorrow night. So yeah, I'll catch you guys later, and I hope you had fun. Laters.
Later that same evening.
Back in my hotel room, I'm gonna have some Pizza Hut, then I'm gonna play on my Switch, then go to bed, then get ready for, well, the end. Yeah, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Day 4.
Day 4 is here, and yeah, it's just gonna be one of those days. So like I said earlier, if there's anything of importance or something I think is cool, I'll film it. If not, I'll see you guys later when I'm at my uncle's. You're lying! So that's honestly about it. I just came back from breakfast, and I'm gonna take a nap for a little bit and then I'm gonna pack all my stuff, check out my hotel, then head over to the Gaylord to do around one runabout, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I'll either see you at the con or I'll see you at my uncle's. Catch you later.
3 days later.
So remember how I said I'd see you at my uncle's place? Yeah, I was wrong. The last couple of days have been kind of crazy, and this is now the first time I'm really able to record. This is Wednesday after the con is over, way over, and I'm back home. So yeah, I hope you all had fun going along this trip with me. Well, some of it, but yeah, anyway, that's really about it. As for the merch I got a Magfest hoodie, this little Riolu plushie, and a couple of t-shirts from what were they called? They were called Glitch Tech. Their name will probably pop up on the screen here, and yeah, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a day. Signing out. Bye.
Gordon's in a hurry, cause Thomas made him wait. We'll have to go much faster, we really can't be late. As soon the coach is rocking and sway from side to side,